So I thought I'd give a try making some smaller dragon trophies. I got some plaques at Michael's and took a propane torch and burnt them so it would have a burnt look, and drill a hole to insert a wire to support the head and neck I'm about to build on it. I then bulk out the head with some aluminum foil and some tape, and then roll out some sheets of clay. I'm using super sculpy. I rolled them out the thickest setting on the pasta machine, and then covered up the tape and the foil with it. And then took some more foil and shaped out a bottom jaw and stuck it on the head and covered that with clay also. I did the same with the top jaw. Figured I'd make a triangle out of it and then attach it to the head and then cover that with clay also. I decided not to build the inner jaws first. It seemed to be easier to build the inner jaws with the teeth in them and then cook that and then build the head around it. This time I wanted to try to do it without pre-baking anything. I just want to see if I can make this whole thing without pre-baking it, or at least the inner jaws and everything. I did pre-bake the teeth that I put in the head. This is the tongue I made out of scupey primo. Scupey primo is a little more flexible than this super scupey, so if something happens or it gets hit, it may not shatter as easily, so I use it for that. So I'm texturing the inner parts of the jaw. You can see the top of the roof of the mouth, so I figured I'd give it some texture, and I am reshaping how some of the jaws look. Looking back on it, I would have probably done it a little differently, but I don't know. I think it came out all right. Now I'm placing the teeth. I've got a pair of forceps that I use to place teeth. I have fat fingers, and I have a hard time getting my fat fingers in small places and getting those teeth close together. But so these forceps work really good for this. If you don't have forceps and you want to do things like this, I suggest getting some. I do have tweezers, but the forceps hold a lot better than tweezers. So I just add enough teeth to make it look menacing. Now I'm trying to roll out the horns. I just rolled out a couple pieces of clay and made it look horn-like, and I'm taking a dental tool and dragging it through there to give it some texture. I also had a pin inside the horn, so when I stick it into the head, it'll stay where I put it instead of sliding down. I then added a center line down the middle of the neck. I'm now putting some brows on him, make him look angry. I like my dragons look angry, so he needs a big brow. So I then add the chest plates. I just take some clay and roll it through my pasta machine on not a very thick setting, just enough to give me a raised ridge when I put one over top of the other. And I use that center line, that piece of clay I put in there, to make sure the center spike is right in the middle where I want it to be. You can shape these out without adding more clay to them. I've seen people do that, but I don't know, when I try to do that, it doesn't come out as smooth as when I do it this way. When I do it this way, all the pieces are nice and smooth, and I'm a little quicker at it because that's the way I did it with paper mache. So basically you just keep stacking them up and making them smaller as you go up the neck and into the jaw. So I'm adding some nostrils here. I don't know, I seem to tend to make my nostrils all the same. They're kind of pointy. I don't know, I like them that way, so I just go with it. Dragons are supposed to be pointy, aren't they? I guess. At least all mine are. I'm using a silicone shaper to make the hole and shape out the inside of the nostril. Give it a kind of a menacing look. I don't know, right now without any horns or anything, the guy looks kind of goofy. Looks like he's going, ugh. But oh well. So I'm adding some lips on to the dragon. Just trying to roll out a snake of clay and blend it in at the bottom. They look like a lip. And I'm adding that fleshy part now on the sides of the jaws of the dragon. I don't know what you call that part. It looked like it did. I needed one there, so I added it in. I'm just using the silicone shaper to texture some lines on there. And if you don't have one of these small vices like this, they come in really handy. You just kind of put your sculpture in there and it holds it for you, and use both hands instead of holding it with one hand and sculpting with the other. So I was adding a top lip here, and I wanted to make him look like he was snarling. So I tried a few different ways to do it. So I pushed the gums up, or the lips up over top of the gums there, and then made a bunch of wrinkles on the nose. And then I took all the wrinkles off because I didn't like the way it looked. I thought it looked kind of goofy. But then now, after watching this, I maybe should have left it. I don't know. I needed to do some more research and get some pictures of like snarling animals before I did this. I think the lines I have on there are going the wrong way. I think that's why I pulled them off. But I don't know. It just didn't look right when I was doing this at the time. Now his eyes do look angry. He doesn't look as goofy anymore. Just adding some different strips of clay to put in some texture and give him some brow bones. I did pre-bake the horns. Putting horns on things and then not pre-baking them, they tend to, I always hit things and move them and squash them, so pre-baking horns and teeth are a must for me. Maybe you guys can do it without pre-baking them, but I can't. I'm a clumsy sculptor, I guess you could say. So now, before the nose looked pretty good, but now, I don't know, I just don't like the way it's shaping up. Kind of goofy. So here I am scraping everything off and trying again. He's scraping these tools that it's like an eraser. You just erase that and do it again. So I'm going with the smooth. And here I'm rolling out a snake clay and cutting it up. I wanted something to go between the chest plates and the scales on the back. So I don't know if you noticed, all my dragons, I have this line of scales that separates the bottom and the top of the dragon. I like the way it looks, so I keep adding them in there. So now I'm adding some horns and spikes to the chin. Fan is really loud on this laptop. And now, instead of stamping on scales, I figured I'd draw some on this time. So you basically take a needle tool or a pointer tool and just draw in all your scales. So that's how I did all the scales on the head. I just drew them all in. And then when you drag it, that tool through the clay, it makes little balls everywhere. And you just take the paintbrush and brush them off and get rid of them. Sometimes you got to go back over, because when you hit it with the paintbrush, it pushes it back into the crevice. So you got to get back in there and then pull them back out. But kind of tedious doing all these. but the end result is really nice. I like the way at least the scales on the head came out. I need to find a better way to place this camera. I had to cut out a lot of parts where I'm looking at something and sculpting it and holding it close to my body, and I got to get away from doing that because it's hard for me to film that. I'm trying to work on that and keep it away from me, but it's always frustrating when I go to look at my footage I did and my head's in half of it because I leaned over looking at stuff. Very annoying. Another good way to use these scales is to do like a cross hatch pattern, like I'm doing here. Just go make a bunch of lines one way and a bunch of lines another way. And then just go in there and round off the corners on each scale and then brush it out. Sometimes a little ball tool works better, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on where you're doing it. So I took that scraper I made and just pushed a line down the center line down the middle of the head there so I can match up scales to it. And scale making exciting. It's even harder than making scales like this. The alien dragon I did is making all those textures on that thing. Definitely had to make that several times. I kept squashing things. It's been a while since I've done some paper mache. I've gotten into polymer clay. It's quicker to do polymer clay and I don't have to wait for it to dry. But and I do like the how easy it is to work with. So on the back, I wanted to make some large plates on the back, so I just rolled out another sheet of clay and then cut it up and placed it on the back, and then used a ball tool to put some texture on it. That's I've done that one on that technique on a couple of my larger paper mache dragons. So I didn't see how it translated here, and it came out pretty good. I like the result of this. And after you do that, you just texture it and make sure everything doesn't touch it. So, and then after I painted in black. I painted everything black before painting it, and decided, of course, the inside of the mouth's going to be red. And I decided to go with some metallic purple colors for this guy, metallic purple and blue. The Color Shift paint. I can't remember who makes it, but it came out really nice on this dragon. I just basically just almost dry brushing it. The brush is a little more wet, almost just dry brushing over top of the blacks, just to give it a hint of color, and still keep the black low lights. It's a beautiful blue color. Another thing I always have to do is tape up the plaque so I don't get paint all over it. Here's the finished product. Came out pretty good. I would have done a few things differently, but I think overall it came out really nice. You see the textures and the scales on the head really nice. This looks like a real tiny dragon that I killed and put on a tiny little plaque. I also made this one using the same techniques. It is this is a dragon from World of Warcraft that somebody asked me to make for him. Anyway, this is what he looks like finished. Or she, I think it's a female dragon, I can't remember. Thanks for watching.